giusti suona chi chitarra mia. Ruspiti dallo sonno, non più dormire, ruspiti dallo sonno, non più dormire, e non ci dormi qua, e non ci dormi qua, e non ci dormi qua, non c'ha la prima madre. C'avimma Mari e non ci dormi qua, c'avimma Mari, un letto di viole, un letto di viole, ci e tu facini. Ci lo faciti, un letto di viole, un letto di viole, ci lo facini. Materazzi, cuscini di seta, e lì lenzoli sogni arrecamati. Arrecamati e lì lenzoli sogni arrecamati, sono belli l'occhitori, e l'occhitori belli sono i fronni d'arburelli, e l'occhitori vivaci sono i fronni di campani. Da parlare, da distruì parole, ti lamento li scordà, da distruì parole, ti lamento li scordà. Io battenti, sono chitarra mia, sono chitarra mia, sono io battenti, sono chitarra mia, sono io battenti. Sono battenti, sono battenti. Sono chitarra mia, sono io battenti.
Get 'em, soldiers. Yo. Get that white supremacy. Rout it. Finally. Rout that. Oh, shit. You're not supposed to see that. Hello. The panel's here. Let me shrink us a little bit. I'm here with the bishop and our new friend Joe. Say hello. Tom Anderson says the White House now resides on George Floyd Plaza. Actually, I think it's Black Lives Matter Plaza. Is it an actual name? Oh my God, there's going to be actual Black Lives Matter street names. It's sad, guys. There's no going back, and unless we turn it around, it's just miserable hell. Unless we somehow turn it around or split off from this monster. Unless enclaves can be found within old America, where one could just live a meaningful life and not be harassed by global homo. That's all we ask for. Of course, that's not enough. That's what they're going to try to deny us. And we might be better off just thinking of that. We're just trying to, it's a salvage operation, frankly. We're just trying to get some piece of something somewhere where we can finally be left alone. They don't want that much. But if we fight hard enough and make it hurt hard enough, maybe they'll give it up. Because I don't see any there is no redemption available in, this is the lesson of George Floyd, there's no redeeming the American system. And I and a bunch of us, and a bunch of people, most people still, I guess, been absolutely guilty of not fucking seeing this and taking this shit seriously until we got to this point where it's just revealed with George Floyd that it's a system that has no means of defending itself against, such as this. And it's a curious thing to me that it's Black Lives Matter, right? I mean, they've been going to it, and it should be worn out. It should be worn out. People should be exhausted with it. I think people are. Yet, everything in the media, everything outside your home, right? It's a curious situation, and I wonder with trepidation about the great silent and silenced mass out there, right? They can't possibly be looking at this and thinking, along with the dopes on CNN that's making money hand over fist off this shit. That's another thing. They're monetizing it as it goes along. But they can't possibly agree with someone on CNN or everywhere, Fox News, who talks about it as if, it's genuinely an issue of police racism, and this is all just a bit of excess, really. And that it's a normal country that stops everything, and opens its institutions and gates to looters because some fuck up somewhere died in police custody. And I'm willing to bet that the Minneapolis police had been reformed. I know for a fact they've been subjected to reforms. Like our police, they're probably in the same boat as that. They're frankly not that bad, but they're easy pickings because they got progressive local government, like ours was. That was easy pickings for for Eric Holder's Justice Department, the Obama administration, when they came in here and slapped a court order court order on us. They go to places like Minneapolis, and it's easier for them. They can't push around New York City, for instance, and you see New York City's kind of still standing up for itself, the police and everybody else. But today, Ted Wheeler basically capitulated in our siege of Portland. It's astounding that BLM has the legs it has. I made a little storyboard here to show you how I view it. Is this showing up? It's like that scene in fucking Austin Powers when he sits down, he's been unfrozen, he sits down, he's ready to get back to work, and he says, he starts coming up with all these ideas about, these crazy ideas that he finds out have been made true in the 20 years or so that he's been frozen. All these crazy things are true. Anyway, I'm not going to read this one. This one sucks. I'm just going to report on today. Oh, first thing, yeah. So I'm about 7-8 miles outside of downtown. It's a suburb. It's mostly nothing ever happens out here. Fucking yesterday, a lot of protesters lining both sides of the street with the signs, and they're all the earnest, like mostly normal people that still live out here. Standing around with BLM signs. Everybody's wearing a mask, almost overwhelmingly white, mostly young. I couldn't find who organized it, but I'm willing to bet it's just a couple of high school kids, right? Some couple of girls are going to ride up. These two girls inspired to make change, right? Yeah, so I'm just trying to get out of here and go downtown, and they're already out here. It's another scary demonstration of the power of this thing. No way. Michael says BOA donated Bank of America donated $1 billion to BLM. Not $1 billion. Oh my God. Why do they do it? Why are they doing it? Is it really all just a fucking conspiracy? Just an ugly conspiracy? It's so obviously not the narrative, the idea that you know what I mean, the idea that the whole that George Floyd's death was an example of of this oppression of black people by law enforcement. It's just utter bullshit. And to leverage from this, the comic absurdity, the Chinese just must be like chuckling and wondering at the same time as they watch this. You take, the worst, most wretched guy you can imagine, almost. I mean, we're not quite to. He's like the worst fucking figure you could imagine, and his picture's everywhere, and he's revered, and his gold casket, his tour in the country, it's bizarre, and it's with its African trappings, and it's gaudy, it's ugly nature, and no one dares stand up to it. The obvious falsity, the stupidity of it, the ugliness of it all. No one dares stand up. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I've never had this feeling of displacement with reality in my life where the world, that I see is behaving so irrationally. It should not be. I keep telling myself, this shouldn't be. And I'm trying. Every day I'm going downtown, it's just, this is the new normal. And everybody's accepted it. And it's, because the violence itself, like they're not looting the Justice Department again, because that's behind concrete blocks, but never you mind. The idea that it's peaceful now, just because nothing's happened doesn't mean this isn't peaceful. These guys are occupying the city. It's not like it just goes back to normal, right? And the city's covered with graffiti. And everybody's boarded up, and everybody's afraid to open. All these people that were due to open, and this thing's timed, cynically timed, to coincide with lifting of restrictions we could have expected from all this COVID bullshit. And nobody dares take them to task for springing this on us during COVID, and obviously doing it for that reason. Nobody dares take them to task. Everybody does the same thing, humors it. Front to back, humors it, and pretends this is entirely about that. And all of this bad stuff, all this unfortunate business is a result of, of our fault. It's a comic example of what I've been preaching about forever, how the very dysfunction of black Americans is transformed into power. We all know that ultimately they don't wield the power and have the autonomy. It's other people, but still, it's an impressive thing to take your very criminality and mediocrity and transfer that into this. We can stop the country on it like that. And the country is being stopped on the whim of credulous black rage. Hey, Josephine. Yeah, I got to get up to Seattle, man. I'm learning about Capitol Hill Free Zone. So Capitol Hill is like the heart of Poz. And it sounds like they have an even stronger Antifa movement there. Wow. Black Lives Matter Plaza is real, And until we can start taking these names down, we haven't really reclaimed anything. You realize that? These things are almost irreversible. Shit like this. I understand London's mayor wants to review all the statues in light of this all. It's also cynical, and it's also obvious, right? The world, the West, turns on this. Why in the fuck would that ever be if this was a normal society run by people that care about it? Why would that be? Excuse me. It's not COVID. It's clearing the throat. The only explanation for this is that the people in control want to wreck everything. Obviously, that's a coup in America, and it's a sort of global coup movement against nationalism to kind of crush it finally, crush us all finally. It's really scary. And there doesn't even need to be direction at this point. They've sort of set it loose, and they can't pull it back even if they want to. But the utter irresponsibility of it. People are responsible for this. There are people, who very well could have, individuals with that kind of power, I think. There are a few there who very well could have got together, or probably did get together and decide on this shit, to spring this on. So transparent. And it goes on, and I keep wondering what's happening. Is there pressure building up? Are we that dead out here? I don't know what to do. But are we that dead out here that the normal people are watching this and saying, yeah, like the little guy in the burning building, this is fine. Yeah, no, we'll get this straightened out as soon as we get the Black Lives Matter thing straightened out. The White House is on BLM Plaza. And BLM is, what the hell is it even? If they're going to throw a bunch of money at it, whatever it's been, it hasn't been $1 billion big. So what they do when they throw that kind of money at it, it's like sharks in the water. There are progressive, evil, global homo sharks in the water. Going for that money, right? And it's just going to, God, that's just flooding the enemy with a bunch of funding. Now, see, I want the dollar to just blow up. If you're going to give $1 billion of them to these assholes, then we need to wreck it. Yeah, we just need to disengage. And I was going to say, if anybody's out there in Portland area who wants to make a road trip to Minneapolis, I think I want to go to Minneapolis and see with my own eyes before this is over. By the end of summer, I think I'll move to a rural area and sort of I've been in the heart of Pozztown for a long time, 7 years. I've seen some shit to make your toes curl. Not really, but the place has degenerated the whole time, and I've seen it. Cheap cigars. Yeah, and I imagine I've witnessed what's happened broadly. Is that this whole thing has gone from a joke, right? Social justice has gone from a joke to an appalling reality. And if we survive, we need to take this lesson. Not to humor this shit, not for a moment, I mean, we're throwing memes and crap at him. I don't think it can really be blamed still. What's happening, again, it defies rational explanation. Yet it's something that's, it's held by enough people that the media lie holds. I'm not even sure how many of the media people, supposedly smart, clued-in people, really understand it as a con, that don't, in fact, think that, yes, this is the rational thing. To stop everything now and decide, who believes that? Again, we need to go back and look at the precursors. There were small events that were precursors. One of them was Evergreen College. Remember the little, what's it called, the Evergreen College or something, Washington State, right? Everybody, it was appalling, kind of taken as a joke, too, when a bunch of lunatic kids took over the school on no basis, really, and got away with it, and were appeased, and basically shook down the school for, whatever, not petty nonsense. I think that was one precursor of this. It's a weird thing that's happening, right? I mean, like they've been springing BLM, they're springing this narrative on us forever. But all of a sudden now, at the tail end of the COVID crisis, really as we're coming out of the COVID crisis, curiously enough, right? It's the most important thing in the world. Now I know that part of it is that it's a bunch of conspiratorial liars who run the media have decided that, but they've always been doing that. And this time, man, for some reason, it's just struck a chord. And I don't know to what extent the media discipline is that much better. It sure seems to be ironclad media discipline, like nobody questioning this absurdity. But the curious aspect is the reaction of the people. They're getting normies here to fall in line enthusiastically. I see kids, good kids, like I said, dozens and dozens of them out here, earnest young kids holding up the BLM signs. And they're buying into it. They're buying into it. The Evergreen State College. Jonathan Paul, hi. I was going to ask you what you know. How are you on your French Revolution history of, and what stage are we in? Because I get this impression watching Ted Wheeler today here just basically capitulate, that we're in this stage where it's like it's the disarming, the pale, weakly whites who are giving in, right? They're just laying down, And so far, the other guys are not doing anything yet. But the next phase, I think, is when the guillotines come out. That's all I'm thinking. The Evergreen State College. That was a precursor moment. Another precursor moment, I think, was the Kobe Bryant funeral. Right? That was a weird one. That took on religious aspects, and one thing that's more common with our black Americans, their royal aspects. You really do think they're royalty. And it was treated like a royal funeral, I think that moment did kind of presage this in a way, too. Somehow, culturally, winding up the process. And I guess the reason it's really hitting us so hard, that it's working, sadly, still defies real ultimate explanation, but for the past 3 years, they've so divided us, over Trump and everything else. They have so driven a wedge between white people, really, with a few white people over here and a bunch of white people and everybody else over there denouncing us. And they've wound that up. They've just fucking cranked up that to such a point that then they release this George Floyd. I guess the video's good. I haven't watched it. Should I watch it? I don't care. Like I said, it doesn't matter if it was the worst case of police brutality ever. It wouldn't matter. Yeah, the timing was awful. And I wonder again also what extent our psychological sort of the demoralizing effect of the COVID scare had. COVID came like the like the 1-2 punch, right? It's like COVID. And it gets us what? It gets us freaked out. It gets us like eyeing each other suspiciously, masking up, sheltering in place. Perhaps above all, it whacks the economy. Everybody's fucked up and dazed, and here comes the 2-punch. This bullshit. And there are two astounding, hugely irresponsible aspects of it that, the whole media, black America, Everybody behind this shit bears this, and they'll never pay for it. But laying this on us, this hoax on us, coming out of COVID, and what the fuck? Coming out of COVID and wrecking the economy a second time. I mean, all of this rioting and shit. Again, this idea that these are peaceful protests when they're doing what they're doing in Portland right now, just kind of running around, basically intimidating everybody. What they're doing is running people out of town and crushing local economies, obviously. Oh, no, but they're peaceful protests, you know. I didn't know what to do other than speak against it. It's difficult. Jonathan asks if I've gone into the autonomous Antifa zone. Do we have one here? I don't know. I don't think I'll go in there. A couple of Antifa guys scoping me when I was taking pictures last time. That was no big deal. Then some yokel tried to jump on the car. I think that was just some kid. Being a dope. We have now roving bands. So far nobody's got hurt. We don't have enough of the truly hard, darker folk to make it truly dangerous. But like I said, I got cased by a couple of scary looking guys the other night. And we got these like yokels, young guys, white guys, and mostly really who would looking for petty trouble, right? This is just some mischief to get up to. That's relatively interesting, For the Antifa guys, it's a bigger deal, It's like being in the army, I think it's just that for them. Jonathan says Portland has an autonomous Antifa zone. I don't know about that. It basically downtown. It's not like, it's not. It's Antifa is, runs downtown. Here we tried a curfew, an 8 o'clock curfew. It was a joke. There were simply too many people to enforce it, so they withdrew it, saying, "Oh no, it's peaceful crowds." But Mayor Ted Wheeler's just been backing off the whole time. And then he comes out today. And capitulates a bunch of shit. I don't think it's policy yet. He can only propose, but it's all getting rammed through. Oh, somewhere a freeway was shut down, and last night when I drove past the Justice Center, which is behind blocks and chain link that's out, the street across from it, encompassing that. And then we've got 3 blocks behind that, separated off a chain link. And Antifa, like something out of fucking, I'm serious, it's like this weird, surreal scene. They'll be out there. There's these huge dumpsters, and they'll set fires in them. And there'll be dozens of them just hanging around of one side or the other, at one point or another. With the cops back there, just kind of watching. Portland's police chief has bailed out, apparently making the decision suddenly and choosing a black subordinate to replace her. She had only been in place for a few months after replacing the city's first black lady police chief, Danielle Outlaw, who left the city for a better deal in Philadelphia after a short, bumpy tenure marked by low-level anti-Trump rioting and our now quaint series of Patriot Prayer versus Antifa skirmishes, which can now be seen as invaluable training for Antifa, right? I've been out there filming that stuff. Yeah, those were all just training runs for this. Antifa got to go out there and try out tactics. And maybe more importantly, what Antifa did was they showed how little power the city was willing to use against them. everybody was bitching about the Patriot Prayer guys, this right wing. They're not, what do they call themselves? Yeah, Patriot Prayer. You know, Proud Boys affiliate kind of thing. That's their vibe. And they would do demonstrations here and draw Antifa who would chase them around. The cops had to keep everybody separate. And they kept having to give these guys permits to march because they couldn't cite a law where they couldn't. Yeah, all quaint now. That's down the tubes. And Patriot Prayer is no way going to set foot in here now. They would get swallowed up. But it demonstrated for Antifa and for everybody else that the city wasn't willing to put Antifa in its place. Maybe more than that were the Trump riots that had been going on, kind of Trump low-level sort of riots in the city. You know, it's always they arrested 100 people that one night when they got me, and since then they have had a really light touch. Even now, they're hardly arresting people. So I think Antifa has gotten the impression over the past 3 years, too, that they're stronger. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Nobody could have seen I think no one could have foreseen, nobody on the other side, nobody anywhere could have foreseen the lack of vitality left in the system itself. The genuine sort of system that underlies it all. Like there is a real system of law and order that still does, for the moment, still does keep you from getting murdered by your neighbor for the most part. It's still not that easy for him to do it. You know what I mean? Despite the fact that it's all being made a joke. That system, you know, the basic civilizational system has no defenders. It's scary. And they're going to see just how much ruin there is in there. Of course, the plan is to come in. Like I said, that's why I'm thinking like these folks now who are just quietly submitting, and all the good white people who are joining in. These people are to be sacrificed. Antifa is to be sacrificed. Antifa will be like the Viet Cong when the North Vietnamese army proper, Viet Cong being South Vietnamese, guerrillas, not trained professional soldiers, not North Vietnamese. Yeah, these Antifa guys and everything will be pushed aside. No, the bright ones, like the ones that are running shit down there now, to the extent there are people running things, those guys will be picked up into the Borg, and the rank and file Antifa guys will be, they'll be treated like Bolsheviks treated revolutionaries. Once they gain power, I'm sure they just fucking killed off a lot of people who were just too troublesome, And all these submissive whites, the moment they stop producing to the tax base, these wicked fuckers, and they're demonstrating the depth of their evil, they're just going to be like, okay, how do we eliminate them? Final solution style shit. And I don't think that sounds nuts anymore. They are demonstrating the depths of their depravity, and they're demonstrating the depths of their cruelty, and they're demonstrating how far they will go. And, well, not really. We haven't even seen it yet. They've already gone obscenely far. Why aren't people standing up? I don't know. It could very well turn in our favor because it so defies right and reason. Jonathan asks, when do free corps units start forming? Why are the police not shooting the terrorists? Tom Anderson says, Antifa are the children of big-time Zionists, so they get to do their Paris Commune march. Yeah, I will note we have a thriving, well-off Jewish community here in Portland that drives a lot of our politics. And is a reason for a lot of our BS. Yeah. Unfortunately. Maybe we'll do a hangout in a minute. Josephine Coffin, do you ever do hangouts? Jonathan's here. Maybe you can do it. Tom Anderson says some popped up in Washington, Philly, Idaho, and Indiana. Perhaps the idea now for an individual white person is, like me, still got some fight left in me, is to go to where the white folk are. For me, in eastern Oregon, just rural Oregon, Idaho, somewhere. Just go there and try and be part of that community and hope that a peaceful political movement develops there. I can be part of that. I don't know what else to do. All right, I'm going to play a song, come back, open a hangout. We're going to have us some fun here at the end of the world. Join me, won't you? Join me, Joe, Bishop Pilpul, tip of the fedora to y'all. Join me for the end of the world. We are, like I said, we are the band on the deck of the Titanic. And we're going to keep playing. We're going to keep playing. And I don't have my song here.
Saranno guai, saranno guai, saranno guai, portino guente vai, saranno guai. Ferite mei, venissani se ferite mei, e casud d'amore na, casud d'amore na, casud d'amore no, sanine mai, sanine mai, sanine mai, casud d'amore no, sanine mai. La Ghianti, innanzi casa, innanzi casa, innanzi casa, la cona della Ghianti, innanzi casa. Pensi la rosa, quando te viene pensieri la rosa, e dorilla rosa ci, dorilla rosa ci, dorilla rosa ci, te innanzi casa, te innanzi casa, te innanzi casa, dorilla rosa ci, te innanzi casa. Tutte le pedde de Forese Chiara, Forese Chiara, Forese Chiara, tutte le pedde de Forese Chiara. Bagliera mia, tutte bucera la bagliera mia, e Cristo porteghi via, Cristo porteghi via, Cristo porteghi via, io più briava, io più briava, io più briava, Cristo porteghi via, io più briava. io piano piano lì, e io piano piano lì, io piano piano lì, di sì c'è ai, di sì c'è ai, di sì c'è ai, io piano piano lì, di sì c'è ai. Mi disse ciao, giubire chiui e la mamma m'ha battuta, la mamma m'ha battuta, la mamma m'ha battuta e che non lo sai, che non lo sai, che non lo sai, la mamma m'ha battuta e che non lo sai. Te giochi al cenno, se passa un'altra piada, te giochi al cenno e te zicco sul tarazzo, te zicco sul tarazzo, te zicco sul tarazzo e te ne porto, e te ne porto, e te ne porto. Che zicco sul tarazzo e te ne porto. Non posso uscire, casa la bella mia, non posso uscire. E per le vicine ca, per le vicine ca, per le vicine ca, c'è sulle porte, c'è sulle porte, c'è sulle porte, per le vicine ca, c'è sulle porte. Acqua minutella, e tu forte, e tu forte, e tu forte, acqua minutella, e tu forte. Mi fa paura, scusi la gente se mi fa paura, e se la bella mia, e se la bella mia, e se la bella mia, ma apre le porte, ma apre le porte, ma apre le porte, e se la bella mia, ma apre le porte. Se dei vetri si fanno i bicchieri, con moschettieri, l'amore si fa. E ho la torna che a me piace, Rosina dammi un bacio d'amore. E ho la torna che a me piace, Rosina dammi un bacio d'amore. E ho la torna che a me piace, Rosina dammi un bacio d'amore. E ho la torna che a me piace, Rosina dammi un bacio d'amore.
Awesome, thank you. We needed that. I needed that. I don't know about you guys. I come out of these things, my encounters with Globo, with The Siege, which is always the soundtrack, of course, is hip-hop. The sinister, dumb drill of hip-hop. It's all trap and drill music now, too. And I'm just longing for anything that's not based on that shitty ass black beat. Yeah. So I go to the Mezzogiorno. I am taken away. The Italians will always have them. That never happens. We'll always have. We'll always have it. Okay. Link forthcoming. We're all on Twitter now, by the way. Awesome. I'm back on Twitter. You should be following Dennis on Twitter. Get this out of here. Excuse me. Sorry. Come on. Do, 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 do. I have the best Twitter, by the way, too. Just wonderful, wonderful. Great. I got like 30 people. I've been up for a week or two. There's Otto Poll. What is that picture? Is that Lenin? I know that picture. I know that picture. I don't remember how to use Twitter, Otto. Okay, message, right? Message 2, there you are. Where's my body? Where is my mind? I should be able to, anyway, fuck it. Dropping link down here. In the comments. Mexican gangs are also defending their neighborhoods against joggers, which I guess they do all the time anyway. Yeah, they are. They're allowed. Did you see that big angry Latino guy with the chainsaw who was going, "Don't let these joggers fool you. Don't let these joggers fool you." I'm sure that's what he was saying, right? I thought that guy was great. They arrested him, of course. They didn't arrest him for the chainsaw. They arrested him, I think, for saying joggers. The fuckers. See, we got to get that guy out of jail. We got to get our based chainsaw Latino out of jail. It's part of all this. They're having their great inspirational moments right now. They're doing victory laps right now. And the fact that nobody's in charge, the only thing that, authority can do is fall before them. Offer up their rear ends like, sorry. Welcome to the illustrious Professor Jonathan Otto Poll.
Hello.
What do you think?
I'm currently not a professor. I don't have a institutional backing right now.
Yeah, well, you're cut loose. And all of this world coming to an end probably impacts you, right? Job prospects and whatnot.
Yeah, it keeps getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
Lots of places, massive layoffs, and some places where there's not layoffs, there's other cuts, taking away vacation time and slashing of salaries. But I applied to a job today, but we'll see. I haven't had anything for sure. I had 2 interviews, and both of them I made it into the top 10. I'm not over that, but one of them was in the middle of downtown Minneapolis.
Really?
Yeah, Normandale Community College.
That my people come out of there. Yeah.
Well, it's now all Somali and African American.
You would have taught them, right?
Yeah, that's how I got so far. I had experience in Africa.
Yeah. Well, you could still go teach them. Now they'll get there.
Well, I'm hoping like the 5 guys that were ahead of me, they all chicken out, and I still can get the job.
Last man standing.
Yeah, but I'm worried about what I'm going to do for security with no police. So I'm not sure whether the gangs are geographical and I get a Somali gang, or whether they're purely racial, like the prison system, and I'm going to have to get the AB, Academic Brotherhood gang affiliation.
Academic Brotherhood, yeah. You know what they say, man? You go into the faculty lounge and look at the biggest, scariest guy and beat the shit out of him, and then everybody's afraid of you. Yeah, that's what it's going to be like. It's going to be... Yeah. This is just hell. Tell me, Jonathan, give me some reason why this... I don't know. Can you explain what's happening to me right now?
Well, one hypothesis I have is that I actually did not survive. That the chest pains were actually led to a heart attack, and I'm just in purgatory at this moment, and that my body was, physically ceased to exist in Kurdistan.
You're in a David Lynch movie. We're all in
Yeah.
a David Lynch movie. And
Well, remember that movie Jacob's Ladder,
oh
where
yeah,
the Vietnam vet with guy had actually been dead, but he was in purgatory or hell or whatever it was.
I think I love that movie. I think it was like at the end it was revealed like he was on the he was
He was a PFC on a search patrol hunting Charlie down. It
no,
was
he was
in the
fighting.
jungle wars
No,
of
he's fighting death
'65.
the whole time, right? And then at the end, I
Oh yeah,
think
yeah, that's
he
right. Yeah,
succumbs, and the
yeah.
child takes him up. But yeah, that's kind of yeah, that's us, man. This is all we're de- we're dead and we're hallucinating it. All of us.
Well, that is actually one of the more rational theories.
It's more rational than this. Yeah, that people are this outraged. Yeah, that normal people are outraged about this. And I don't want to
Uh,
go on and on about.
I don't know. I've never seen anything like this, and I'm almost 50. I know you're a couple years older,
No, it
uh,
defies.
but I don't even think in my parents' lifetime, and they lived through the riots in the '60s.
Same, but the same pattern. We rewarded that. All that uh, ultimately disastrous civil rights legislation was in response to those damn riots, which came really when things were getting gradually better. They didn't come because things were getting worse. The 60s, was a great go-go economy. I think the thing was that the black community was resentful because white America was just getting rich faster. You know, white people seemed to be living it up, probably were. You know, but it wasn't that they
Uh,
were. Like the Watts riots were started when some cop pulled over a guy for driving drunk, was going to let him walk home. He's a couple blocks away. His wife shows up. She's furious because he got pulled over, and she starts beating him, and the cop tries to break up the fight. And then, typical sort of,
then the ghetto burns
other
down.
people start getting in, and then all of a sudden the cop's in the middle of the fight, and people are like, oh, we're fighting the cops now. It was that stupid. Sorry. It wasn't like,
And it seems to be a repeated pattern. It's almost like, it's just not worth trying to enforce law in certain areas because you always get in trouble. No, there's nothing the cops can do that's a net positive for them.
yeah, well, I'm sure the Minneapolis police weren't bad. The worst police forces are in
They
places
were the
like
most
Baltimore.
like liberal, reformed, you know, police force in the nation. They all of these like liberal ideas that to make
You're
the
right.
police more politically correct, they had already implemented. That's
Yeah.
why they're down to the last thing: abolish the police and replace it with the Black Panthers.
Yeah, that's funny. Same story here in Portland. It's a joke, but they are just relentless nonetheless. That this is the worst, and the worst departments are in places like Baltimore and New Orleans was awful, legendarily bad. I think St. Louis was really bad, and these were all, of course, had large
But
black populations.
Baltimore, the police department's been totally under African American
Yeah,
control for quite some time,
right. You know,
and the police chief of Minneapolis is black.
is he? Yeah, that it's a joke. That's what I'm saying. I don't even like to entertain the stupid question, but obviously, it's not a question of police brutality. I don't think.
No, I don't think it's a question of police brutality. It seems it was certain groups had something planned, contingency wise, for the next time that a black man, regardless of
Right.
circumstances, died in police custody.
How long did it take them to get this one to market? Just a couple of weeks, probably.
I think the planning has been going on for a long time.
Yeah, but George Floyd happened like a month ago,
Yeah,
so
yes,
yeah, this has
right.
been pretty
Yeah.
quick. He's already got a gold casket touring the country with Al Sharpton. So tasteless, gaudy, and typical of Globo Home. But yeah, there's this new. There's a new.
But I think if it ever comes to it, we like can get the plans from BLM and Antifa. They'll be if they're not destroyed, we could capture them. There would be like, this whole contingency of what to do right upon the next time a black American dies in police custody. So they figure what 10 black Americans die in police custody every year just because of the sheer number of people coming in
Right.
contact and being arrested. Right, some guy's gonna die of something. So as soon as that happens, that's like one a month on average. They're ready to go.
Yeah. And this is just about what they'll get Trump out of office, but you see them consolidating gains here at the local level. This is happening all over. It's even happening overseas.
Yeah, London,
I can't explain it still how.
Paris, Brussels, Stockholm, for God's sake, Malmo.
I don't know what the
Uh,
heck it is. We don't deserve to live. I guess it's
the
just
one continent that has the fewest
Africa
of
has.
these riots is Africa,
Yeah.
but
I don't think
they've got
China has
lots
it.
of them in places where there's like almost no black people.
And then, places like China and elsewhere will have great fun chastising us for our human rights abuses, right? Taking this shit seriously because we can't call them out. We can't say it's a bunch of bullshit. Nope. Yeah, it's
Oh,
always funny.
you
China.
know, when the Uyghurs do this stuff,
Yeah,
though, the Chinese just shoot them and round them up
right.
and put them in
They're not letting
camps,
this
and
stuff.
that's the end of the problem. There is no getting down on their knees. It's like
Yeah, I'm
that
sure
would
the
never
China.
happen.
Yeah, I'm sure the Chinese and Asia, other places outside of the West, are really looking to get diverse now, right? Viewing us imploding, they're probably thinking, yeah, I don't think we want to do that.
Yeah, well, I got to think, and of course, very few people will say this because it's not politically correct, but I got to think that the average non-white is looking on this and thinking, "Oh my God, these white people, they have no self-respect."
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't have like an opinion on them, but now I hate them because they don't
yeah,
respect themselves.
yeah. The
Not
dynamic.
because they killed Floyd. I mean,
Yeah,
he's a drug addict. That I don't think the average black person in Africa or even the U.S. cares about that. But seeing
yeah,
the response, I mean, it's like,
yeah,
oh my God, these people.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess they don't deserve to live if they're not willing to stand up for themselves.
In the confused human mind, these things blend. Yeah, and at the same time that they condemn them for the death, that they're also thinking or feeling that this is a contemptible people cringing before us so easily. We must crush them. Or people are thinking too, well, white America's done, so I better pitch in with whatever the new power is, and this is the deal, you know. And if they were presented with an alternative, they would be like my chainsaw bearing Latino guy, Don't
Well,
don't let
we
these
are seeing
joggers
this.
fool
We
you.
are seeing. Did you see what happened in Chicago?
Yeah,
Where Alderman Lopez went up against the mayor.
yeah.
I think we're going to see more of that because you know what? The Mexicans don't care if you call them
Well,
racist.
and they still care about their neighborhoods somewhat, and they're still going to have
Well,
some
more
sense
evidently
than white,
than
yeah,
we are.
than anybody. Koreans,
But
them
here's the
will
thing:
protect their
the
streets.
Mexicans, or other Latin Americans, the Spanish-speaking population, there's twice as many of them as there are blacks. So if we start to see in these neighborhoods in South Side of Chicago and Compton and Los Angeles, just on sheer numbers, the Latinos have a 2-to-1 advantage.
Yeah, and they won't mess around. They're not
No,
pushovers.
no, of course not.
So and it kind of a drip bummer for us because that just leaves us to be preyed upon the longer this goes on. You
But
know, if you're unfortunate to
except
live around Chicago.
I'm kind of like thinking, like, what I said. What's got to be the average view of the average non-white is these people cringing on their knees are just so so. There's nothing you can't have any respect for such people. When I see mayors and police and
Yeah.
And corporations and these establishments. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah, allowing this. Well, I have contempt for us, but it's not us. Mayor Fry is not me.
You
He's not my tribe. The little effer.
no, but it's enough of there's enough of these cucks making white people look bad that it's very bad optics.
Yeah. Yeah, did you see the bad dancing? That's going to be a ritual, guys. Get ready for that because they know, yeah, they can't dance, so we're going to make them dance in public, and you're going to look like little little Mayor Fry.
So I was hoping you were going to make a infiltration into the quote liberated zone of Antifa where they are setting up
I
the
haven't heard
guillotine.
of that liberated zone. Is there
Yeah,
one here?
supposedly they have one in
Don't.
Portland and one in Seattle.
Yeah, like I said, it's all a liberated zone for them downtown. They pretty much. You know, it's funny.
You know, I'm looking at these pictures of the guys that they've caught and released from Portland that Andy know, and there's all these really masculine looking. Well, I don't know what they meant. There's all these trans guys. You know,
Yeah.
they have these women's names, but you look at the picture and it's like this is a guy with lipstick on.
Yeah. Well, there's that one. Well, you may have seen the same. You may have seen the same picture I saw somewhere just today. I think of some local Antifa guy here who, or maybe it's Seattle. One of the guys
I
behind
think
the
this
free zone in
it may
Seattle.
be both. I don't know. Whatever Andy Snow is putting up.
Yeah, well, it's a dude, right? And his eyes are too close together, and it's this weird physiognomic problem, right?
They all look like you know what they look like? The description of the fish people that mate the people that mated with the deep ones in
Yeah,
the Shadow of Innsmouth story by H.P. Lovecraft. They haven't like become total fish creatures yet, but
they're
they're
morphing.
not. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're morphing to human to fish.
yeah, I love it.
Not very pretty people.
No, it's an ugly town. It's an ugly movement, you know. But you still get to these demonstrations, regular nice people, nice young girls who buy into it earnestly. They just,
And then all these freaky guys that would be otherwise be incels
yeah, no,
figure
see,
that
that's
figure
a,
they can get into their pants by being Maoist or whatever
exactly. I'm
communist
sure that
flavor.
dynamic is a big factor in all this. I don't know. I've never talked to any of these
We
guys.
could just like spend some money to get some like legitimate hookers and appeal to their
If we
patriotism.
could just get them laid, it would solve so
Yeah,
much.
that's all the problem.
Just get everybody laid, all the incels, and they'll come together. Yeah, relax. I don't. It's not that really. Young men should need wives, but we're so fucked up now that young people don't even think that way. They don't consider family. I don't think many from the start. You know. This Asian dude was trying to hold the crowd. You know, they let whoever go up there and talk. People are just flexing. You know, just kind of preening. That's a lot of
You
what's
need to
going
go
on.
past the barricades into the zone. Zona.
La Zona
Tovarish Dale goes into
Antifa.
the zona.
Yeah,
How are you gonna disguise yourself? You're not ugly enough.
I know. I am.
Put some
Yeah.
lipstick on and eyeshadow and claim that you're a trans
I was thinking of going as a
revolutionary.
homeless guy. You know, shuffle along like a homeless guy. They're
That's
invisible.
not safe. Did you see what the Antifa did to the homeless guy in Texas? They lit his mattress on fire.
Oh, that one. Yeah, that's awful. Yeah, they're horrible. And here there was a one-legged guy in a wheelchair, waving his prosthetic foot leg, and I think he got roughed up. They're just awful people doing this shit. The white guys that are out here doing this, they're the worst. I don't know what's wrong with them.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, a lot of them seem to be sexually
That's.
abnormal.
I think the perverse sexual environment we've created in our world is doing it. Yeah, I mean, And people still want to do this, still the same impulses, and there's nothing but these sick ways to indulge them. It's like a festival atmosphere out here. Are there any protests where you're at? Are you organizing any?
No. I live in a basically a community that's old. It's I don't know what the percentage is, but we have a very high percentage of Asians, particularly Taiwanese here, and but they're all old people. So no, I'm living in Boomer Town.
You're in South Orange County, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Love it there. Yeah. They won't work out. They won't get out there. You'll have a little demonstration. Some high school kids will have one. They made it out
But
here to our suburbs. Fuckers.
that's it. Los Angeles has been hit hard.
Is it?
Yeah,
How bad is the looting?
well, pretty bad from what I hear. So they haven't established a liberated zone yet, like they have in
No.
Portland. So maybe not as bad as where you're at. You're gonna be like, are you gonna like be taking the helicopter off of the last U.S. controlled building in Portland?
Yeah. Be hanging from the skid, right? I'm that guy. Yeah, I'm going to scoop me up a little petite Vietnamese woman. I don't care if she knows me or not. On my way out, yeah. There will be one running out to get out too. Yeah.
There probably will be.
I don't think there's that many. And yeah, there's.
You have a large Vietnamese population in Portland.
Huh?
There's a large Vietnamese population.
Yeah,
in
there's pretty
Portland.
good sizable. I don't think they're really down with this, but it's distressing too because a lot of our non-black, non-whites are new, relatively new, first generation. Their parents were immigrants maybe or something, and they haven't yet been exposed to
Did you
black
see the
folk.
article in the New York Times about the Somalis in Minneapolis?
What?
They
This is a war
said
zone here? How dare they?
we went,
This is
went
insult to
from
injury.
Mogadishu back to Mogadishu without knowing it.
By all means. Yeah, no, you're partly to blame, guys.
This is true.
You're a land.
I just thought it was ironic.
Yeah, it's funny. No, it's a damned insult. We're submitting it. We deserve it, but can you imagine? We're being chastised, yeah, by the Somalians and everybody else. Like I said, the whole world's loving this.
I don't know if they're all loving it. I suspect a lot of them are uneasy about it. They just can't say anything.
Why can't they? Why can't anybody? It's so bizarre. The madness is global. You see that? When like another country can't say, "Hey guys, maybe this is nuts." Not even another country can get up there.
Did you see what happened to the soccer player in Los Angeles?
What?
His wife wrote in Twitter in Serbian while he was in Los Angeles and she was in Chicago that she didn't approve of the Black Lives Movement riots in Chicago. And so he didn't even know about it. They called him in. They made him denounce his wife, denounce Black Lives Matter, go through the struggle session, and then they fired him anyways.
This is a player?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Can they even do that? How can they do this?
Los Angeles Galaxies.
How can they do? Well, they've got a contract maybe that they'll get away with citing, but shit, it's insane. And we don't even have, we don't have, apparently have support like in the courts or, anywhere in politics. All the businesses are lining up. Who's made any noise about it at all? Trump has made some insufficient
Tucker
noises.
Carlson's the only
Carlson,
one, but
God bless him.
his show has gotten really good ratings. He's like the most highly rated television show going down right now. He's getting close to 6 million viewers a night.
Yeah, and CNN is cleaning up. They're getting all the, just like they cleaned up during the Russian hoax nonsense. They get all their like-minded people tuning in every night to learn the latest. And Tucker, I guess, well, he's a good indicator of what resistance might be out there, Fuck. He talks
Yeah,
to
he's the
Trump.
only mainstream person that's said anything critical that I can detect.
He needs to
I
get with
mean,
somebody else and write Trump the speech, man, to refute it all, to stand up to it all. An epic speech to get up there and say no. Finally, we say no. This
yeah.
is madness.
Uh-huh.
We're putting these childlike people in charge of shit. And a lot of it's
If it had
terrific.
been me, it would have been like Chicago '68 when Daley gave orders to the police shoot to kill. I would have maybe let them have one day, but day two orders are out for lethal force.
That reminds me, I have an idea if anybody's down with it. You remember the movie Medium Cool? Medium
No,
is this little indie film. That guy, he's this hippie lefty guy. He was a little young filmmaker, and he went out making his movie. He used the '68 political convention in Chicago for his backdrop. He didn't know there was going to be a riot, and he was, I guess, illegally filming, and he was using Chicago as the backdrop for his story. Well, it just so happened to turn into a riot, so the movie takes place in the middle of the Chicago riots. It's pretty weird thing, yeah. And I was thinking, somebody wants to get with me, we can use the siege as a backdrop for a movie, man. We've got all these
Essie
great
has some
scenes.
film experience.
We've got all these like bombed out war scenes, looking and crowd scenes, and all kinds of crazy shit we could incorporate into a movie.
Yeah,
We'd have to
could
write a
have people
screen.
die during the movie too.
Did they?
Well, I don't know. Your movie. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes they do. Wasn't there some deaths during Apocalypse Now?
No, that was just they took forever out there. There was
Oh,
that
well,
one.
didn't Charlie Sheen almost died of a heart attack?
He did have a heart attack. They were out there for like 8 years. It was ridiculous. I don't even like that movie that much.
Let me see. I'm
Everybody
trying to
thinks
think. You
it's so
never see
great.
this? You know the movie Stalker. Everybody that was in it died later from the cancer from that
Oh,
chemical factory in Estonia.
yeah. Those scenes, man. I got cancer watching this. Amazing.
Just about.
Right?
Yeah. It doesn't look like something
It
you want to
looks
touch. All
like
that foamy
cancer.
water.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. Fuck it.
Ah,
No, you're thinking of also maybe that Twilight Zone movie where
yeah. Twilight Zone. There was a death on it.
that dude was carrying a Vietnamese kid. He's a Vietnam. The scene was in Vietnam, yeah, and they got chopped by a rotor blade in a helicopter. So that ruined
Ouch.
John Landis's career, the director. He was the guy who made Animal House. He made American Werewolf in London, which was a really good movie, especially for its
Yeah, I
time.
like that one.
Really inventive for its time, I thought. Yeah. But I don't talk movies anymore
All right.
in an Adorno-esque fashion.
Now I'm canceling Adorno because he said bad things about jazz
About who?
musicians.
What did he say?
He was in a class and he said there was nothing good that had ever come out of America. And the student asked him, "Well, what about jazz?" And he said, "Nothing but apes banging on drums."
Wow. Well, he's canceled. Absolutely. Let's notify them. I don't think they're going to drop the ideas anytime soon.
Nope, he had to cancel all the ideas that come with the guy
Yeah.
too. That's thumbs the
Yeah.
rules.
Aren't they tainted with his white supremacy?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
But, well, Adorno wasn't white, so
Yeah,
it's not
I
white
know.
supremacy.
It's echoing white supremacy.
Yeah, fellow supremacy.
Fella. That's going to be a name. That's going to be a word in the dictionary when we win.
We could just
Fellow
we
white.
spell it like Fela
word.
Kuti's name, Fela, the Nigerian style.
Yeah. Did you read the story about the girl who got the definition of racism changed by Merriam-Webster?
I saw it. I didn't read it. I just saw the headline.
Well, they haven't said what they're going to change it to, but obviously they'll change it to only white people, some form of that shit. Not that it's a real word in the first place, but it's funny, right? It's like these idiots are actually.
It had an
changing the
objective
word.
definition at one time. It no longer does, it appears.
Yeah, no, this Merriam-Webster definition was objective. Yeah, It was useless to them. That's why they're rewriting it.
But on the other hand, I don't think that other than the people on their knees, I don't think there's any white people who care about the term racism anymore. It's lost all of its magical power.
These people seem to care here. Yeah, they're lost people. I don't know what's going to happen to them.
We're gonna have to write them off.
Yeah, they're not the
They're
majority.
like the zombies. You know, the people get infected with the zombie virus. You can't save them. You have to burn them with the other zombies.
It's the great culling. Yeah. This is fucking... COVID was nothing. Is anybody even thinking about that anymore?
Yeah. You know, I have to have a doctor's appointment Thursday, and it's still online because I needed to get some asthma medicine renewed here because I had an attack last week, and because it's a lung ailment, they don't want me coming in because they're afraid I'll be infected by the COVID people.
So they're still concerned about that. Okay, good. I guess. Yeah.
If I was in in any of the other countries, I would have just gone to the pharmacy and bought it without having to do anything else. You just pay the money and they give it to you.
Yeah, I still just order online with the VA. Here's the Vietnamese restaurant painting Black Lives Matter on their doors.
No,
Don't hurt
Fa
us.
matters. They should put Fa matters.
Yeah. All Fa matters. Yeah.
Or they could just like say, "We are fucking good. We are the
We
Fa
are the
King."
Fa King. Yeah, like Sofa King. Come to Sofa King. We are so fucking good. Yeah. So that's like the grocer's window now, right? Black Lives Matter. What's the story about the grocer's window? Orwell tells it or something. This is that happens. Is that everybody puts it up just to like leave me alone. It doesn't mean they're like in line with it, but it has a powerful effect.
Grocer's decoration from Václav Havel's little book.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody, they have little. What's going to be the equivalent of a little red book?
Oh God, it'll be Ta-Nehisi Coates or something, right?
Ta-Nehisi Coates sounds good, Lord.
Yeah.
Chairman Coates.
Where has Ta-Nehisi been? I haven't heard from him through all of this. It's important that we hear from Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Not really.
Yeah. Things are quiet tonight here, I think. I don't know. I haven't gone out.
Are you far enough away from the zone that you're safe?
Yeah, where I live is out, like it's about 7 miles outside of downtown. It's really just downtown. But the other day there were demonstrations.
And you're not afraid they're going to eventually get there?
They'll find their way out here. When law and order breaks down complete, I'll be out of here before that happens. I got to get my gun. I just got to go ahead and buy the damned gun.
You set up any traps like in South Africa?
That's a good idea. I've learned traps. Make my own claymore mines. Set some wire up. Might be a good idea.
Yeah, there's been so little pushback. I can't believe the police and the National Guard just caved like that.
Yeah, it's weird.
So
and then the symbolism.
now Minneapolis is going to be like Detroit. It's never going to recover.
Could it be that they will have wrecked a whole city? Like virtually
Yeah, it was one of the
overnight?
nicer cities.
They
They wrecked like the closest city in the U.S. they had is like this Bernie Sanders idea of
Right.
Denmark.
Your social
And they
democracy. Your social
They just
democracy.
proved that, well, you know what? You
It
can't
doesn't.
have social democracy and demographic diversity.
Yeah. Because of the Blakes. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, and it's happening in places like that. And here you see we're getting shaken down. And it's happening here. And it's not happening as much in a place like Baltimore or somewhere else
So there's nothing
because
left to burn in Baltimore.
they're
Detroit
done.
hasn't had much too either because they destroyed everything in '68.
Detroit is depleted. Baltimore's a wreck already. New York is wealthy enough they can still kind of fight back.
Minneapolis was wealthy enough to fight back. The reason they didn't fight back has nothing to do with lack of resources and everything to do with lack of willpower.
Well, yeah, New York, they don't live by their own rules. The rules they set for the rest of us, they're too important to live by the rules of diversity. I know, de Blasio, even with de Blasio in there, it seems like. But Minnesota here, I mean, Ted Wheeler, it's ridiculous, man. These people have done nothing to earn this, and he's just saying, yeah, I should have done this years ago. And he's giving them everything that the harder progressive left has wanted for a long time, which is disbanding the gun control unit, taking the cops out of schools, because the blacks hate those, because they're always bumping up against them, and taking Portland police out of transit. They're just the three least favorite with the black community, which is not a big community in Portland. Yet they are running things. It's globo homo in a microcosm here, how it works. The mayor's like, we failed, man. We failed miserably. You guys are right. It really amounts to the criminals shaking down the cops.
No. I don't know.
Have you ever been to a riot?
Have I ever been to? Yeah, I lived through the revolution in Kyrgyzstan in 2010. We didn't have police for 3 days, and I was terrified. Minneapolis has had no police for like 2 weeks now.
Holy shit. I mean, there are parts of Minneapolis, if you live there, you can't get a cop, right? It's been a while, probably. You can't count on getting a cop.
It's not just Minneapolis, but I mean, that's the worst of it. But they're not going to have police. It's going to be what's your prison gang?
Damn.
You'll be calling up, hello, AB hotline. Yeah. The Nation of Islam is breaking into my house. I need some assistance.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
I mean, the Latin Kings now do security for the Mexican neighborhoods in South Chicago. The police aren't there.
Yeah, I want to join those guys, man. Brush up on my Spanish and just go somewhere where people are fighting back. This is hell. Driving through their, you're just driving around downtown. You're driving through their shit. They own this, proudly own the city. These ridiculous people on this ridiculous premise.
I got to think there's got to be some pushback, some.
And where's this? I think you tweeted
because like the saying is, white people are nice until they're not.
Yeah.
But sometimes it takes a while. I mean, look at all of the shit the Germans took until they finally fought back.
Yeah. We just got to got to find a way to band together and fight back. This is crazy. When the Saxon began to hate. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. If we were smart, you'd be like figuring out the names of the leaders of BLM and Antifa, who are the top guys, and figuring out how to kidnap them.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
make a hit to decapitate them. Well, then you've got them in your control. Then you have all kinds of options.
The rest
first, you need like a toolkit, pliers, blowtorch, bicycle pump, all kinds of interesting implements. Did you ever see the movie The Horseman?
No.
It's like the movie 8.5, except it starts, he finds the guys who did the porno movie, and of course his daughter dies on it of a drug overdose. So basically it's an Australian movie, takes place in Queensland in the Northeast. He hunts down, it's like a guy, 44 years old, hunts down all 10 guys involved in it and kills them in hand-to-hand combat with like claw hammers and knives. It's just really, it's
Nice.
really intense. But he has a toolkit with all kinds of devices to try and get the names of the
Yeah.
next guy. Fish hooks.
Get out the fish hooks. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Man. Like I said, I think I just want to move to a rural area. Just move to a wider area. Step one. Clear my head. Get away from these crazy white people and their pets. Yeah. They were coming out and spraying off the graffiti every day. I bet they're not doing it anymore. I've got to go down and get some more footage. Gets worse every day.
Really?
Yeah, I drive down.
I thought it would start easing off. Nothing left to destroy.
The accumulation of graffiti and crap and ugliness, down 4th and 3rd Avenues in downtown. Yeah, it's just maybe they're getting it cleaned up now because the activity has abated somewhat. It's just fucked up. Like I was driving, middle of the day, I'm driving downtown, and some punk, he walks up to a marble column, Pioneer Square, whips out his spray can and just starts, just as casual as hell, You just want to slap these assholes. You see them coming in, young punks, and a lot of them are just yahoos, not necessarily that political. It's just like, it's a moral holiday downtown. Let's go wreck some shit. And you just want to go Latin Kings on them. Wouldn't it be funny, Jonathan, if you started a militia where you're at, even though your guys aren't really anywhere near the danger zone? Just to fuck with your neighbors, right? Knock on everybody's door. Guys, come on, have a gun strapped over your shoulder, like have a bunch of shit on. What's wrong with you guys? Come on, get serious, man. They're going to be here any minute. Freak your neighbors out. They'll report you, right? You're not down with BLM. What's wrong with this guy?
I have no ability to use armaments. I'm the worst shot on the planet.
Yeah. Well, you can use the shotgun for the close engagements.
Mm-hmm.
And you're really going to be our intelligence officer, more, right? Whatever role you would be like the most educated guy in your unit,
Perhaps. I don't know. But I suspect you're going to see lots of clashes between these guys and non-whites like the Latinos.
Yeah. What I'm waiting to see happen is the non-whites here start just for fun beating up on the whites around them. These cringing, awful whites that are so repulsive. Just for fun. Like, look at those fuckers. Let's beat them and take their money. They're women. Here they are besieging the Justice Department. It's so funny, right? And it's all fuck the pigs, fuck you, yelling it, spray painting on everything. And then they come up and they've got them under siege and they start saying, hands up, don't shoot. Right? It's fucking sinister, the humiliation of it. And then they do the knee thing. Oh, take a knee, take a knee. It's weird, They're chastising them, right? For being big, bad, evil cops when the cops are basically anyway. Somebody named Wignats for Jesus here, Jonathan.
Wignats for Jesus. I don't know of them.
He says you're advocating violence. I didn't.
I'm not advocating violence.
Nobody did that. Nobody has. Nobody
I
shall.
was explaining the plot of an Australian movie.
Oh,
which
that.
is
Yeah.
actually 10 years old now.
Yeah. What's it called?
It's called The Horseman.
The Horseman. Maybe I'll check it out.
It's on YouTube, so you could watch it for free. But it is intense. I mean, the version I saw was censored, so I can't imagine just how intense the violence is in the uncensored version.
Yeah, I just can't find the time. I was going to take in a movie.
I
Just
watched
gotta
a pretty good one last night. It was called The Harrowing.
What's that?
It's somewhere in the South. This woman goes to investigate the death of her mother under mysterious circumstances long ago. And it turns out that it wasn't her husband that killed her, but this other guy who she gets in contact with. But you're like left to believe it was the official story all the way to the end. So it's not bad. It kind of reconstructs, but you see it from the eyes of the guy who did the actual killing. But because he's crazy, what you're seeing isn't actually true. It's the way he's reconstructed in his mind to justify it for himself.
Interesting.
It's very good in kind of these multiple narratives. So, right, but so by the time you get to the end of the movie, you realize that most of what you were seeing was he was constructing to justify his own actions after they had occurred.
Some quick fiction writer needs to be writing stories about this shit that's going on right now. It's going on. Stories about this siege. Fucking stuff. So you were locked down for 3 days in Kurdistan or something?
No, we didn't have police for 3 days in the capital of Bishkek. I lived next to a mall, Turkish, and the first night they broke into it to rob it. Particularly, they planned it actually to rob the jewelry stores, take the gold.
Yeah.
But there were also apartments above it, and then the second night they broke into the apartment. I lived in a shitty Soviet apartment away from the nice Turkish one, but not that far away. I could hear the gunfire those
Wow.
3 days. And
That's
they burned the White House. It threw a lot of the documents out. I remember walking down there with my wife. And then there was the genocide in Osh, where they started killing all the Uzbeks. But Osh is a bit far from Bishkek, so. So that was the first academic job I lost. I lost it as a result of that revolution. They put in the hardcore ultra nationalist. They were backed by the U.S. State Department. So these people literally were Nazis. They killed hundreds of people just for being Uzbeks. They lit them on fire.
Wow.
So
Probably just as well you're not working for those folks.
well, the Soros operation. Soros
Was it?
funded the revolution, but he also founded the university I was working at, American University of Central Asia. So after that, that's when I went to Africa, where ironically, Ghana is the country that I've encountered the least amount of anti-white sentiment ever.
Yeah, of course. So you're enduring your second Soros revolution right now in America, basically.
Yeah, well, this one seems to be going on longer, at least. But there doesn't seem to be the genocide component yet. I mean,
Not
they
yet.
haven't. No, so they went pretty fast. They killed about 2,000 Uzbeks and drove about 200,000 across the border. And most of them managed to return. But it was to the point where the Uzbek government was going to militarily intervene. But the
Yeah. Is there a historical precedent for our shit? Has anybody ever voluntarily given up their civilization in this way?
Oh, gee. I don't know. I would assume that the ones that did, we would have no records of.
I guess not. There'll be no record of us then. They're going to fake. They're going to fill in our history, and it's going to be, your grandchildren are going to think that it was all, black folks who created America and all that other shit.
Mm-hmm.
They'll try for that. That's an interesting question, though. Seriously, is how will they? Could they completely memory hole us? In this day and age, where there's so much information that's out there already. You know what I mean?
Probably not. I
No.
mean, we're still digging up remnants of conquered civilizations in Mesopotamia.
Yeah.
But it could be like, the textbooks will from being printed in China will say, have like one page on on uh, on the European civilization. Start like with ancient Greece at the top of the page, and at the bottom of the page is the collapse of the United States, and that will be it for all of Western civilization. We'll have one page in this world textbook out of China.
Like we used to reserve for them when it was all about us. Yeah, we are a footnote in their history now.
Right. So
Fuckers.
we won't be totally forgotten, but yeah.
Oh, they'll be better about it. They'll
2,500 years will be compressed into a single page.
They won't be the ones looking to bury Newton and all the.
And Newton will get a sentence.
Yeah. Here, Newton will be black, though. See, there, he'll at least get a sentence, and there'll be an Englishman again. I think it was English, right?
That's I have a speculation. They haven't gone after the Lenin statue in Seattle because Lenin is 1/8 Kalmuk, so he's 1/8 Asian.
Oh, is
but
he?
So maybe we can say Pushkin and Dumas. Pushkin was 1/8 Ethiopian, and Dumas was a quarter black.
Yeah. Wow.
We'll have the collection of base mulatto literature.
Pushkin doesn't even translate to English, does he? I don't think,
It's very, very difficult. They redid the language after the Bolsheviks took over to make it easier. So, if you like modern Russian there's even a letter missing. There's a hard sign that existed during Pushkin's time that's used a lot. The old joke is that the new version of War and Peace is 39 pages shorter because of the removal of this one letter.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll survive in some form. White people. Yeah.
Perhaps. But I didn't expect Minneapolis to be wiped off the face of the earth.
For their own gentle goodness. Really, man. It's their only crime. Minneapolis, your only crime is that you're too kind. Too forgiving, too generous with these awful people.
And then, I guess Philadelphia got hit hard.
Did it?
That's what I saw. I mean, I can't keep up with everything.
Our police chief went there. Our black lady police chief went there like 6 months ago.
And then, you guys are getting hit up in Portland and Seattle with the Antifa guys.
We're in
These Antifa guys don't look as tough as the Black Lives Matter guys. I would think you could take them out easier. So what is your police department
They're a lot
doing?
of scrawny kids. No, it's not. It's not scary at all. No, the police are not, they're chasing people around. They're not making arrests. I've seen one arrest in all of this. But they throw in a lot of tear gas, and they are chasing people off the streets and trying to clear the streets. If they pulled back completely with all these people in the streets, it would be true anarchy. They would mow through this shit like locusts, I think. Because a few people will get things started, and there'd be enough knuckleheads always. That's what people don't realize. So the cops' strategy apparently is, just to be out here and chase them around all night until they fucking tire, around 2 or 3 a.m., and people go home, and it cranks up again.
Why don't they just go to their homes and arrest them in the middle of the night?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're all kind. There's so many cameras now. They could be picking people out of video. You could have officers assigned just to go through all the video. I don't know that you find in.
I don't know. mean, if I was dictator, I mean that would be one of the things I was doing. The big thing I would do would be I would RICO all of these corporations that were backing Black Lives Matter, just confiscate all their assets.
Yeah, should be able to. I mean, this is fuck. It's crazy, right?
I mean,
This is
Bank of
arguably
America.
yeah, arguably a terrorist organization. Yeah, BFA. They said $1 billion. I hope that's not true. And if it is true, like I
Uh,
said, I hope the dollar truly does crash, so that it doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. Oh shit! Sorry, Bishop.
well, I don't want the dollar to crash. That would be bad.
Yeah. Well, I want to get out of here first. Maybe I don't know. Costa
Um,
Rica. Right? That sounds
well,
good. Costa Rica.
yeah, well, it's a possibility. I mean, if things get bad enough, I suppose I'll go to the house I have in Kyrgyzstan.
There you go. What's it like there?
But the problem is no job there, which is why I left in the first place to go to Ghana. And
Well,
then then they bought me off as I was making like $750 a month in Ghana, and they offered me $6,000 a month in Kurdistan. So I went, but if I had been smart, I would have been looking for a job from day one when I got in Kurdistan. So, but I didn't realize how corrupt it was. I thought West Africa with the Nigerians was corrupt, but they have nothing on the Kurds.
really?
The Kurds have managed to become more corrupt in just about 10 years than the Arabs have been after 50 years, and both of those groups are infinitely more corrupt than anybody in Black Africa.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. I can't remember what it's something. Literally, like $1 billion a day in oil money disappears in Kurdistan into the pocket of the
Into the dark
politicians.
economy.
Not even dark economy. I mean, it goes directly to Swiss bank accounts.
Yeah. They never developed then, probably, right? Do they have development projects in a place like Kurdistan? We're going to build a big bridge here, or a dam, or some shit.
Uh,
Shouldn't
Very
they?
rarely. And when they do, they bring in foreign workers, usually Turkish, because all the people, and they all demand to have it. With the engineering degrees in Iraq, it's pretty much worthless. I mean, basically the idea is that they pay money to get a degree, and they basically cheat their way through or bribe their way through or whatever.
So what happens when you get a bunch of people running around with fake education? What does that look like? I wonder.
What?
Right? People get degrees that are meaningless then, right?
Oh yeah, pretty much. Well, think about it. Even before you met me, if you saw a guy has a degree from University of Chicago and a guy has a degree from American University of Iraq Suleimania, which one do you think is
Right.
going to be more legit?
Yeah.
So even on the base level instinct, people know that the degrees are worthless. I mean, they basically these American universities brought a patronage systems. There are ways for particularly the CIA and also organizations like Soros, NGOs, to funnel money to various local
Yeah.
politicians and various movements, particularly unpopular ones like gay rights, for instance, the big one they were supporting in Kurdistan. And so basically it's a front. So a legitimate professor like myself is the guy that's making the pizza in the mob-owned pizza parlor. But the mob-owned pizza parlor guy, he doesn't care about the sale of cooking and sale of pizza. He just cares that the money gets washed.
Damn. Yeah, well, before you could say it's nice to have the states where things are run, you know, rationally and without corruption, but that's gone now.
Yeah.
Now we live in
But
the
I'm okay with cooking the pizza in the mob owned joint as long
yeah.
as they leave me alone to cook the pizza.
Well, do you know how to make these pizzas they're going to want you to make now? You're going to have to brush up on your
I
BLM
know all
cooking.
about Africa.
Oh, awesome. Well, you
I
are
lived
well
in Africa
positioned.
for 5.5 years, man.
All right. You're not going to tell the
I,
truth
I know
about
that Kente cloth is not something worn at protest. Kente cloth is something worn by Asante royalty.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and the Asante were the biggest slave traders in in the world at
Oh,
one time.
funny. That's too funny.
When the
It's,
Portuguese got there, they allied with the people of Elmina, who were allied with the Asante against the Fanti, and so they wanted initially gold, but the Asante were kicking ass of all their neighbors and taking all these slaves, and the Portuguese figured, well, we could use them in Brazil to grow sugar.
yeah. And here we are at the end of that, dealing with our
So
restive population of descended African slaves. Yeah. Where was Dahomey?
Dahomey is east. It's
Is it?
historical Dahomey is in what is now Nigeria, but for a while the French colony of Benin, what is now Benin, was known as Dahomey. But historical Dahomey is over in southern Nigeria.
And that was a great slave trading empire. Right?
Yes. Well, all along that west coast, which is the most densely populated area of sub-Saharan Africa, were slave kingdoms. You have all these little small ethnic groups fighting with each other, and then some have become big, like the Asante, by basically subjugating their neighbors. But once they could get access to firearms from the Europeans by trading with slaves, that like made their ability to capture more slaves much
Yeah.
greater.
So when is cancel culture going to come around and uh, censor them teaching this, right? Because I mean, I imagine that American blacks go over to Africa and they're distressed when they find out.
Well, I
Which
had that.
was it you that tweeted about that or something recently?
Yeah. There's a huge slave castle. It was built initially by the Swedes, and then the Danes were there, but the British basically made it really big, and they made it the capital of their holdings down there on the coast, called Cape Coast, and it's not too far from Elmina, which was the first slave castle established by the Portuguese, and then it became Dutch and then British. So they have some pretty good graduate students in history from the University of Cape Coast. It was established by the first president of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah, who's the tourists. And I was with some friends from the U.S. We had a conference on the study of Asia in Africa at the university. So this was their last day, and they wanted to see the UNESCO uh, tourist site, the slave castle built by the British. And the guide was asked by where did the slaves come from? He said, well, most of them were captured prisoners of war, but others were prisoners for convicted of crimes, and some were uh, religious sacrifices. Uh, but they were all taken by the various African, uh, the Asante, and then sold to the Europeans. And the black Americans were absolutely aghast to hear this African nonchalantly talk about the fact that 100% of African slaves sold to Europeans were captured and sold by other Africans.
Yeah. Well, they think it's like Alex Haley's Roots, but I don't remember how he portrayed it. Did you watch Alex Haley's Roots? The
Yeah,
show?
I think he talks about the slave catchers being indigenous African. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't think I haven't read the whole book, but you always see um, pictures of it in historiography because the story of him being descendant of that particular guy that was That was
That was
the Africans
bullshit.
taking the piss out of Alex Haley.
Oh, was it? Some
Yeah,
Africans
yeah,
having fun with him? That's
yep.
funny.
Because they knew what he wanted, so they just made
Yeah.
up a story that fit it all. Because they were
Kunta
gonna, he was
Kinte.
paying them.
That's funny.
I mean, you know, uh, there's a tendency for Americans, including Black Americans, to underestimate the cleverness of people in
That's
Africa.
funny.
But
Racism.
just because the overall IQ average scores are low does not mean there aren't some very smart people that can take you for a ride.
Well, they've probably been pulling that trick on the white Europeans who show up for years, And then Alex showed up. Yeah, let's give him the story he wants.
Exactly. But you see it in historiographical treatments of methods on like what not to do for conducting oral history in Africa. Don't be like Alex.
Who was the Englishman who went Burton? I've tried reading Burton. Richard Burton? Sir Richard Burton, right? The great adventurer character who traveled all throughout Africa and wrote about it. Did some crazy
I haven't
things.
read him in a while.
But it's
Um,
hard to read. His style is dated.
Recently, I've been reading two books. I've been reading a book on the Cultural Revolution by Frank Decoter, and a book on the Vietnam War by
Yeah, show us.
uh, George Herring. But I'm almost done with the one on the Vietnam War.
Yeah. I'm revisiting Days of Rage by Brian Burrow. It's about the 60s radicals. And this other book, The Civil Rights Era, by this liberal guy who wrote about the legislation of the Civil Rights era. It's such a fuck story because it's really all about, like I said, it's about how they capitulated to the riots of the 60s. You know,
Hmm.
we've already been through this. It's happening
But
now,
the,
but
the
we're,
the
we're
riots came after the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of
right.
65. So they'd already gotten almost everything before the first
Well,
riot.
yeah. Well, it didn't matter. Like I said, their economic condition was improving too, but we still had those crazy riots in what, 67? When was Watts?
65.
Was it?
Yeah, it was early.
Yeah.
But it's still after the 64 Civil Rights Act. Have you read Caldwell's book?
Who's that?
What's the book on the book on this, talked about the Civil Rights Act being kind of the
Kozel?
foundation. What?
Kozel? What's the guy's name?
I think it's Caldwell.
Oh,
Christopher
Caldwell.
Caldwell.
Christopher Caldwell. I actually have it on my Kindle. Um, and I forgot about it because of all this other crazy shit. Yeah, it was lined up. I was going to read that. And then everything got accelerated. Probably everything he's talking about. He's talking about the second Constitution. Yeah. This book, The
Yeah.
Civil Rights Era, has been an account of that, how that was put in place. No, the riots were a huge part of it. They kept passing legislation, right? I don't know. I get it confused, but there's like a handful of bills through the 60s that, in addition to the big one, that were fucking absolutely awful. You know.
Caldwell. Yeah.
Yeah, Christopher Caldwell. Yeah, we are living under a second constitution, and this whole thing now really kind of is like, okay, let's make it official.
The Age of Entitlement is the book.
Yeah. They're consolidating it. That's what this is about. They're saying, no,
So
that
he
old
says that.
shit about fair play and First Amendment and all that shit doesn't
So
apply.
he's kind of interesting because his theory is similar to Terry Martin's theory about the Soviet Union. That the real constitution was what the policy in the 20s. They call it colonization or indigenization, but this kind of creation of national elites in all of the national republics. And so you kind of have a similar thing in the U.S. after '64, where the rights are collective racial groups rather than, and it's the civil rights legislation rather than the
Yeah,
Constitution, that the actual de facto ruling Constitution.
yeah. It's a J-ish vision of the U.S. as a sort of multi-faith,
But the problem,
multi-confessional thing.
the problem is uh, we've gone from being the position of the Russians had in the 20s up until about 36, where uh, they're at a disadvantage actually. But then, of course, this reverses in the 36 onward in the Soviet Union itself, and they reassert power. But we haven't done that. So every national group gets its institutions and privileges and territory and power, but us. Well, now we're looking like we're the Volga Germans, the Crimean Tatars. We're like absolutely reduced to nothing, a non-people and unpeople.
Yeah, no, we got cheated out of even that, didn't we? We got moved right into this. It's astounding. Just like everybody who participates, and it's everybody, but everybody who participates is engaged in something evil, and there's no excuse for it. There's no way you can say, "Oh, they're mistaken," or you know what I mean. I can't, I can't fathom it. But it appears to me that all of these people are just falling down. Just chickening out and falling in line. They can't possibly believe this shit. It's really scary. I don't know. The power of narrative. The power of narrative. We should have been the people of the world. The word. Donald says you have to wonder how people can slither so low to the ground. Sorry, Jonathan.
No, well, I think we did have that good narrative. I mean, certainly, uh, I think certainly up until World War II, I think there was a strong American narrative, and certainly the strong British narrative.
Yeah.
I talked about this on one of my shows that there appears there was a pretty good narrative to overcome the Civil War division by focusing on the conquest and settlement and development of the West. So this, you know, even up until when I was a young man, this idea of the Wild West being the frontier, this
Yeah.
kind of being the redemption from the nadir of the Civil War, that still had kind of a resonance. So there was at least there was that first part where we do have a redemption, but I'm not sure how it can get constructed after 1914. It seems to be it's hard to counter the kind of left wing Whig narrative where there's always this consistent
Yeah.
progress of more marginalized groups becoming mainstream to becoming the rightful heirs of America rather than the
Yeah.
white Anglo-Saxon Protestants who
Well,
had
that
former
transition
dominance.
is the trick. Yeah, that transition is the trick. How that happened. How we went from this sort of liberalism that they sold everybody, where, oh, you're tolerant, and of course you would not deny these minorities. Implied in all of it from the start, though, was the idea that never that the minorities were going to outnumber you or that they were going to be anything other than sort of like white people adopting your values.
Well, I mean, yeah. So a couple of things that threw it completely off kilter. One, the '65 Hart-Celler Act, the idea that we were going to change the demographics.
Yeah.
But another one that changed was the idea was always there that there was going to be an integration and acculturation and an attempt, even if it's not possible on a level of actuality, but as far as possible to assimilate them into
Yeah.
the culture and the norms and mindset of the dominant white
Yeah.
Anglo-Saxon Protestant. And when that went out the window in
Yes.
'64, then I think we had trouble.
Yeah. It's interesting, though. I mean, I think that the narrative preceded the reality, but we thought we were going to make white Christians out of black people in a sense too. That they were
Well,
everybody was going to adopt our values. Sorry.
right. That's probably mythological, but I think you could get a leadership, the top 10% of African Americans to essentially
Yeah.
adopt values and way of life of white Americans, and then at least a aspiration of the
Yeah.
90% of African Americans below it. That's the goal. The top 10%
Well,
blacks who act like whites, they've made it. So that's what we should
if,
shoot for.
well, no. The thing though is, we thought, and I think part of the process has been that we've been disappointed. We needed more than just that, because I mean, that was kind of the model. But if the black community was going to be separate, then that 10% of the elite would stay there mostly, and they would be a complete community with their elite caring for them. We broke that because that elite we dispersed into the broader community, sucked them up into the universities to teach this shit theory, and the black community is just continually depleted of the already shallow talent pool it's got. You know.
Right, and Malcolm X was one of the first guys to see that that was a liberal scam. They were going to take all of the well-to-do blacks and co-opt them, and that there wasn't going to be anything left in the black neighborhoods. So there needed to be some sort
Yeah.
of separation.
I just wondered how deliberate the whole process is. I think, because I think the left, they went, I don't know how legitimate it was, from their class based notion of everything, right, to what they now call intersectionality.
Well, that was definitely can be pinpointed on one man. That's Herbert Marcuse.
Really?
Because he deliberately wrote in 1965, they didn't renew his contract at Brandeis when he'd been teaching. So he went to University of
Cali.
California, San Diego. But see, he was one of these Frankfurt School guys that came over from Germany. And he worked for a while for the CIA, and then he worked at Harvard. But what he came up with is that the white working class was never going to be revolutionary because they had been co-opted into trade union consciousness and basically supporting a capitalist system in exchange for being allowed to have a higher standard of living and being
Yeah.
able to defend their rights through labor unions. So to have a true revolution, you had to have the lumpen proletariat who had no investment in the system. That is, people who had no jobs. So he said in Europe and the U.S. would be racial and sexual minorities.
Wow. Yeah, he nailed it.
And then internationally it would be the third world. But he was the first person to really point to the idea of American blacks. He was the supervisor for the PhD dissertation of Angela Davis, but also for homosexuals and the perverts. He wrote a book called something Eros and something. But he talked about polymorphous
Polyamorous.
perversity.
Yeah.
Polymorphous perversity was his one of his phrases.
Oh
So
God.
all of this trans and gay stuff, that's all being the bulwark of the revolution. Of course, all the real revolutionaries in Russia that were manly men turning over in their graves, that was the
Yeah.
Marcuse doing.
He went to San Diego and he probably was distressed to see all the white kids surfing and having a living.
Uh, I think it just had to do with after the Second World War in the U.S. in particular, but also Europe to a lesser extent. The proletariat, supposed to be the working class, right? They all joined and
Yeah.
supported parties like the Democrats or the Social Democrats or Labor Well, they did not support the communist parties,
Yeah.
the revolutionaries, the people that were fighting in
Well,
the
we were
streets
too
in the
well
30s.
off. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly, what his whole point was that they had been co-opted, been bought out by material standard of
There
living.
were Reds in like AFL and shit back in the day, though, right? Those
Oh,
guys
AFL
lost
was
out.
not red. It was the
Was the
CIO
other
was
one?
the red
Yeah.
part, and then they merged so that the AFL could kind of suppress the Reds in the
Yeah.
CIO. But part of the CIO did not go. There was a CIU still in existence, a kind of a communist union. But now with woke capital, there's going to be no unions, right? So
Yeah.
because now the revolution is led by billionaires, not by any working class people.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's like an exaggeration of the high low against the middle, the elite.
Well, that's exactly what Mao did, though. He struck against the middle levels, the bureaucracy of the Communist Party, and also the various institutions of state, particularly education, middle school, high school, and universities, using students and the ranks of
Yeah.
the People's Liberation Army. Uh, so from 66 to 68, you have this assault where the very top, Mao, right? So he says Mao is kind of equivalent to Soros, mobilizing the very lowest levels of urban society against the kind of middle establishment in education and the party bureaucracy. And even eventually, they purged the army in 1971 after the death of Lin Biao.
Yeah. I mean, and it's so, the parallels to the Cultural Revolution, right? The whole vibe it's ridiculously like it. The
Oh, I mean, if
idea
you
of,
just take out class and put in race, it's
yeah.
perfect. And you don't even need to do that sometimes because the word they're using for bad class is black. So, I mean, if you could just kind of like switch black for white in that the Chinese
Really?
literature, it'd
Yeah.
be exactly the same.
That's funny. Yeah. How in the hell we're letting them get away with it, I don't know. But
I do not know. So you have
Marcuse saw a healthy middle class and he thought, oh, this is awful. It's a bastard. And that's the way they've been thinking the whole time. Aristotle spoke of the middle class. He wrote of politics. You need a healthy middle class.
but you see,
Way
we're
back
so
then.
short-sighted. If
Huh?
we had a policy of not letting Marcuse into the U.S.,
Yeah.
think how much better things would have been.
Yeah.
Uh,
He turns up in that movie, Hail Caesar. Have you seen that film?
I mean,
Coen Brothers comedy. They
we
make
should have
fun
just
of it.
said in the 30s, no communists allowed.
Yeah.
We didn't do that till the 50s, and these guys were already established by then.
And then we get the 65 Act, and it's game over. Here we are, really. I mean, all those kids in the streets, all those non-white kids, and there's a good component of them here. Yeah, they just buy right into it. Filipinas for Black Power. Somebody had a sign, just ridiculous.
Uh huh.
And it's all because they don't know.
I actually don't believe that. I think when it comes to it, the Filipinos are gonna fight against the blacks.
I
The
hope
only
so.
people that are gonna go along with this shit are weak, stupid white people.
Yeah. Well, no, there's an element there of people that I know, just fucked up people like this. Like you see the weird looking Antifa. And there's a class of people out there, like a lot of these white
Right, those are the marginalized, sexual,
marginal
deviant
characters.
minorities that Marcuse thought made perfect revolutionaries. So in a way, he had predicted everything already in the
Yeah,
60s.
he probably he would.
And it didn't always used to be that way. But I mean, uh, I don't know.
Well, he was really
It,
big into sexual liberation too. It was all about sexual
yeah,
repression.
yeah.
We had to
Eros and
liberate.
Civilization is the name of the book he wrote.
Yeah, And he also wrote the essay about repressive tolerance, which was
Yes.
we can't allow free speech once we get fucking yeah.
All right.
We can't
Which
allow
we
free
see
speech
right
because
now.
it's basically the repressive tolerance essay is basically a policy for these assholes right now. It's basically what they're doing, saying, "Oh, we can't let you talk about that because it's repressive."
We'll deplatform you. We'll
Yeah,
cancel you.
Jesus.
Yeah. But see, we should fight back. We should start canceling these people.
Well, we have to. We have to figure out how to disengage from their economy and world, somehow as much as possible. I don't want to watch their television. I don't want to watch their shitty sports. Now with Goodell, the NFL commissioner, bending the knee, right? If
Not
you
bending
go
the knee.
back and watch their shit now, right? It's a more humiliating experience for the average white dude watching that shit. All the more humiliating now, I think. Don't you think?
Yeah, well, I ain't doing it.
I don't do it, but I think those assholes, they have some faint sense of shame left in their dulled minds. This just, intensifies it, I think. Right?
I
You
think
can't go to fucking basketball games and just watch. No, no, no. They're going to stop and, right? They're going to be doing weird shit. Like, they're going to
yeah,
do,
but here's the thing. Like one of the woke corporations is Yorkshire Tea, right? That told I think it
yeah,
was Laura Trowler when she said she applauded them for not having said anything about Black Lives Matter yet, and they said, "Well, we're just thinking about it. We're going to support them. We don't want you to buy our tea."
oh,
But
is that
here's
what
the
they
thing:
said?
I don't need to drink their tea or anybody else's tea to live.
Yeah,
They need customers, and there are not a whole lot of black people that drink tea,
that's
so they
true.
need to have a lot of people that
Yes,
are not members of Antifa or Black Lives Matter buying their tea for them to physically
yes.
survive. So it's like Gillette; they're literally cutting their own life support,
Fittingly, the razor company cutting its
right?
own
Because
throat.
it's like when there was a conflict. I mean, ultimately the peasants lost out, but then whenever there was a conflict between the peasants and the peasants have the advantage that they say, "Look, all that shit you produce in the
Yeah,
city, I don't need it to live. You need my grain. You cannot
yeah.
eat cement. You cannot eat glass."
We could be self-sufficient out here too. Yeah, you fuckers will starve in the cities, and their whole thing is about been put. This is a weird thing too. I mean, the whole plan has been forcing us all into cities and density, and draining out those troublesome outer areas. But now they're wrecking the cities, and people are going to be moving out of inner cities everywhere. Not even necessarily if you're affected that much, right? It's like the
Yeah, well,
'60s. There will be this migration out to the burbs,
Minneapolis is already experiencing it.
right? They don't have
All
to.
the company, all the companies are moving out.
So I don't know about that aspect of it, you know, if they've
But
really thought this through.
look when all of these corporations that support Black Lives Matter, a lot of them do not make things that you need, so you can just stop by. And
Yeah,
if everybody does that, that's not a member of Antifa and Black Lives Matter. There's not enough of those assholes to
yeah.
support them. They will die. Those corporations will shrivel up and die.
You can't organize the boycott though, because the social media companies won't ever let it get off the ground, right?
We don't need to organize it. We just do it.
We gotta get the word out because a bunch of dummies out there won't even think about it. You know, we need to be able to communicate that to people somehow. Seriously, there needs to be a movement. We can't just say it here over and over again like we always say it. There's got to
Look,
be
we got
something.
13 people. If each of these
Yeah,
13 people and all of their
13.
families,
Lucky 13.
maybe
Yeah.
it's reversed. Sometimes unlucky numbers are lucky.
Yeah, maybe they must have gone too far. Anyway, we're going to resolve this thing. So I guess I'm glad for that this whole mess, you know, is going to be resolved one way or another.
But anyway,
Global.
don't drink Yorkshire tea. You don't
Yeah.
need Yorkshire tea
I
to
don't
live.
drink that shit
Yorkshire
anyway. What about
Yorkshire
Lipton's? Is
tea.
Lipton's cool? Because I've got Lipton's here.
I don't know. Yorkshire tea was the one that was really egregious.
I don't eat Ben and Jerry's. They're all awful,
No, don't
too.
eat Ben and Jerry's. Ben and Jerry's is horrible.
They're all bad.
Make your own ice cream like the Mennonites.
No, don't eat ice cream. It's not good for you. It fattens you up.
You may
Yeah.
need to be fat when you go to the
You're
gulag.
going to have to, yeah, I'm going to pack on some. We should all start carving up for the gulag now, guys, or whatever it is.
I've been looking at the tattoos again. My academic brotherhood tattoo.
Yeah. Yeah, I will buy a gun and move to the rural area, though. Start learning how to live off the land, right? If I have to go to the damned woods and live rough, I'll do that.
Maybe, but I think so much of the corporate stuff they produce is just unnecessary crap that you don't need.
Yeah, it is.
Nobody needs to eat Doritos. You can like completely boycott Doritos and it only benefit your health.
Yeah, I don't eat a lot of that shit anyway. Uh, yeah, and we can live healthier. It's a better way to live. Cook for yourself.
So, you know,
It's weird though.
you know,
They've wrecked the economy here. You know what I mean? After COVID and now this, and it seems to be part of the point too. They don't want to give Trump a decent economy because they've got to get him out of office, which is part of the, you know, just part of the whole thing. I think it's like they're saying, yeah, we're just going to play, you know, go all in now. You know, on 2020, we'll remove Trump and institute, you know, the final sort of the second constitutional convention. Make official all of these changes that have taken place over the last half century. That's what's going on.
I don't think they'll be able to do that, but my guess is that well, I don't know. I can't really foresee.
Biden's going to win, and he's going to have some weird.
I don't think Biden will win.
Yeah, and that's interesting too to think what happens if Trump somehow manages to win. He's got a good shot because they seem to be overplaying their hand. One thing that happened with the 60s riots that I mentioned before, that people voted for law and order.
Right,
And
Nixon
coming
won
hand in
68.
hand with civil rights legislation were stricter laws, because fucking crime
I,
was
I,
shooting up
I
through the roof.
think, Trump has an even better position than Nixon because he doesn't have some of the other problems, most notably the Vietnam War. So I'm going to say that the silent majority is going to of white people is going to put
Yeah,
Trump back in power for a second term.
Biden's going to be forced to pick some strong black woman, and he's going to be committed to this shit that's going on right now. You know, he already was, and this is tied in with him. Remember, owing the black community his nomination. That's the way they were characterizing it. And all this shit comes as if one of its purposes is to force him to do this. This doddering 77-year-old guy, Stacey Abrams, or one of the other girls in there. I don't know. That doesn't look appealing. Yeah, people will vote against that secretly. They'll vote Trump, or they won't turn
I'm
up and
thinking
vote for
that
Biden.
it's a well-known story in the third world that polls are inaccurate because you only tell the guy coming to your door what you think the government wants to hear, or you know,
Yeah.
the pollster or whoever, but you never tell them the truth. So I suspect that the reason that Biden is high in the polls as he is lots of people are lying.
Really? Yeah. Well, we can't believe anything they say, for one. Yeah. Even if he was high in the polls, things are so freaky and weird. I mean, it's a long way off. Just a few months is too long. Yeah. People are really cowed. That effect you mentioned of telling them what they want to hear. People are really cowed in this environment too, probably, to say anything but Trump, for instance.
Well, for good reason. I mean, we can go through, but there are all kinds of stories of people being fired from their jobs. I give you the example of a very rich soccer player. Right? If they can do that to
Right?
him, what can they do to ordinary, regular people?
Donald Robinson thinks they're going to steal the election, right? With mail-in ballots or something.
That's a possibility. But I don't think the mail-in ballots will pass before the election.
COVID was supposed to maybe ensure them that they could uh, do that, right? I mean, mail-in ballots favors the Democrats. Anything that gives the opportunity for fraud tends to favor the Democrats. The whole
Right,
COVID
but now
lockdown.
they've given up on this whole thing that you shouldn't go outside because right, obviously going outside and having hundreds of thousands of people smashed together for
Yeah,
hours on end, it obviously does nothing to
yeah,
spread
no.
COVID because uh,
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But we might be getting George Floyd too entirely because COVID didn't really have the legs like they thought. I mean, they really beat that drum hard and wrecked the economy and thought they had Trump on the ropes. He was flailing. But COVID wasn't that bad, right? I mean, they really blew it out of proportion and it was kind of being revealed as not that bad. The employment numbers were much better than expected. So the economy wasn't even hurt as bad as they thought. So, boom, they have to bring up this George Floyd shit.
yeah, but I think they've overplayed this now.
Hopefully. I don't know. I've been rethinking it, and I think they're right, and that it is um, white supremacy that's causing this, and I think we are murdering innocent black bodies every day in this country. BLM. What? Wasn't that convincing?
No,
I'm
it's
working
not going to
on it.
help you. It's not going to help you.
No?
No, the
All right.
confession never helps, so don't make it.
Well, we'll work on it. We'll practice together. We'll read lines like actors.
It has never worked. It doesn't even delay
Yeah.
your own being killed. You need
You just
to
give them
come up with
some
a
it's
better strategy.
foreplay before you get shot. That's what it is. Yeah.
Uh, I don't know what is a better strategy, but no, caving in just makes it worse because then they want more. That's never enough.
Yeah. A
Never
lot.
enough.
It's funny though, because a lot of people, support him. Like I said, it's so self-evidently evil, and that's what we're trying to convince people of that this is a profoundly stupid and evil thing. And all these people are committed to it, right? So it's like the inertia of that mass of people, the mainstream
Are they committed?
respectable world, has committed to this bullshit, right, Jonathan? They're not going to want to come off of there. We have to nuke them to get them off that fucking position now. You know what I mean?
My estimate was it's only about 20% of the population that in any way, shape, or form support this
Yeah.
insanity. Now, granted, that's very high. The Communist Party of the Soviet Union was 7%. So with about 3 times as many communists per capita as the USSR had, but it's not a majority.
Yeah. But I mean, all these institutions, every person of any sort of public stature, right? Every company, every institution has gone on board with it. I don't know. Yeah, and here we are. Like I said, the great mass out here silenced, and all this energy should be righteous fucking energy out here to push back against it has nowhere to go. It's astounding, isn't it, that this right wing terrorism threat doesn't seem to be showing up, right? Why hasn't one person gone crazy and attacked one of these protests? I guess there was a guy in Seattle
No,
who
no, no.
took.
We don't want that. That would be a disaster.
That's what I'm saying. Their whole idea, oh, right wing terrorism, yeah, right, this is a huge problem. You would think that you would have one instance by now, because them pulling this
My
shit off.
understanding is there are people desperately trying to create such a thing, but
Yeah,
they haven't found somebody that stupid. You really have to have an IQ of about 20 to be that patsy.
yeah, they're looking. I bet they are. Active operations out there to find a patsy, can you imagine? There are guys trolling like,
They're looking to find the stupidest white man on the planet.
let's
I
just
think
get
that's
the
probably the
angriest
name of the
guy.
operation.
Yeah.
stupidest white man on the planet.
They give him a name, yeah, some offensive name. You know, Jimbo, Bubba, find Bubba. Go out there, these agents. Yeah, they're out there. And he's not out there. See, you fuckers? It just proves that they're full of shit. Because, damn, you would expect somebody to go nuts. This is an outrage. This is a fucking evil outrage. And we're just taking it.
I think though we'll see some. I think there has been a change. There's been a shift.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird territory. Because they've got, like I said, they've got all this money now. All this money's pouring into BLM. And all these policy changes are happening in all these cities. They're implementing all these changes, right? And they're rolling up all this money. And the public has never really signed on, like you said. We haven't really been consulted, actually. And this whole thing's going to proceed, and public opinion might turn drastically against it all. Yet, like I said, there's establishment America firmly on its side, and there's $1 billion plus in their fucking war chest. How does that work, right?
Well, I mean, they seem to think that's what's hip. They kind of, I mean, a lot of these ideas have been floating around for a while, kind of accessories to, remember the book Mount, what is it? The guy who wrote Bonfires of Vanity, Tom Wolfe. He wrote the Mau Mauing,
the flag catchers.
Yes, the flag catchers about the Champagne socialists. They were having this really high society fundraisers in New York City for the Black Panthers in Oakland.
Somebody said we should go read Radical Chic again. I got to get something to drink.
Get that bottle of whiskey?
Sorry. Yeah, straight up. No, it's tea, of course.
As long as it's not Yorkshire.
Straight up tea, it's called. Yeah. All right. Yorkshire tea. Fuck you, Yorkshire tea. Josephine says the guy in Seattle was Hispanic who was being attacked in his car. He shot the guy attacking him.
He is. His name is something. He has a very, very Spanish name.
So that's why we haven't heard anything more about the fellow.
He's also, if you look at him, he's like 10 shades darker than Malcolm X.
Yeah.
Quote, known white supremacist is named something Lopez or something. But he's, obviously Latino.
A couple of times it was a black woman who said, I ain't putting up with this shit, and drove her car through. Yeah. Yeah, well.
No, I think, the first violence is going to be from the Mexicans. And that's why there was that blowout between Alderman Lopez and Mayor Lightfoot.
Yeah, that audio's weird, right? The guy vents, and then she's like, okay. She's going to ignore him, right? He's like, what the fuck do you have to say about that? Right? They're like, screw you, screw you. You can tell they don't like each other already. And it's this ethnic struggle between the blacks and the growing Latino population. Yeah. See, this is another chore for them, is they got to bring those people in line under all this. Yeah, we're all together against Whitey, but the blacks are going to be the premier inter pares, first among equals.
Yeah, but like the Mexicans were like, okay, but
it's like
why are they attacking and looting ours?
Yeah,
why
no, they're going
to in Whitey neighborhood.
No, the Mexicans are going to be like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, not just that, but we actually work and pay taxes and shit a little bit, and these people are, they don't harbor no illusions about their darker friends, So I love that chainsaw man. And he's saying, don't let these joggers fool you. Don't let these joggers fool you. He didn't say joggers, of course, but I just can empathize with the guy. He's like, he's feeling what I'm feeling. He's like, this is madness, right? By the way, I saw a guy with a chainsaw out there the first night. One of the Antifa guys running around with a chainsaw, looking at God, dude, who knows what.
You didn't cut off any limbs?
Yeah, have you gotten out to see any rioting?
No, we don't have any rioting here, and I'm
I mean, in
trying to
L.A.
stay away.
No.
Well, I'm not. No, I'm going to live it vicariously through you. So I want you to infiltrate the
Yeah,
autonomous
nah.
zone and bring us back a report
I'm tired.
on the future, on the people's paradise they have created
Yeah.
in the Portland commune.
This is Dennis Dale reporting from, free Portland.
There's going to be unicorns there and people singing "Kumbaya"
You're gonna
and
get
24
sodomized
hours,
by unicorns.
7-day week orgies.
Yeah. There's gonna be chafing and, it's gonna be disgusting. Chafing and sexually transmitted diseases.
No, socialism will eliminate STIs.
Well, we're all gonna get them. Yeah, we're all gonna eventually. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, Seattle. It's funny. It's anarchy. I mean, that's weird. What's going on in Seattle because nobody's even thinking. Gee, there's a whole bunch of people who live in this autonomous zone who didn't decide on this, right? Has anybody consulted them? Because they elected officials, the mayor and everybody else, right? They are still presumably law-abiding citizens who still want their police and shit. But we can't even consult them, right? They're probably terrified to say anything, even if they do oppose it all. Like, what if you're the last guy in this little Sodom in Seattle? Wait a minute, I don't want to be autonomous. What are they going to do? Drag him out of his house and beat him to death or something? I want my
Committee of
police.
Public Safety. The Committee of Public Safety will cut off his head with a guillotine.
Have they got a guillotine? Those fuckers were, when they were still doing their LARPing with Patriot Prayer last summer, they had one of their props they had brought out were guillotines. The fuckers were bringing out these like prop guillotines, Antifa, to the demonstrations. Yeah, they're going to bring out real ones.
Yeah. Maybe.
Well, your career now is as a sort of demagogue to rise up in all this madness, Jonathan. Using your power, you
I don't have any charisma, unfortunately.
You know how to speak in front of students, though, so you're going to treat these people like your students, and you're going to go up there and.
Yeah, but students didn't pay attention to me for the most part.
Where's our Napoleon?
I don't know.
We need our Napoleon.
I'd settle for a Pinochet.
Yeah, rout these fuckers. The whiff of grape shot. Yeah, I don't know. Things
it would work. I mean, one of the things why the left hates Pinochet is because he was so effective. He took the 5,000 worst communists and had them all killed basically on one day in a football stadium or soccer stadium.
Yeah.
And that pretty much ended communism in Chile forever.
Wow.
Right. So other Latin American regimes were much more ham-fisted and bloody and brutal. Like in Guatemala, they had 150,000 killed. All right, but you see, they don't ever get the same attention because they're not as a threat. The more people you have to kill, the less efficient you are. So, in point of fact, if you look at right-wing regimes that the left hates, the ones that have the lowest body count, things like Pinochet's Chile or South Africa under apartheid, are the ones they condemn the most, precisely because of the low body count indicates an efficiency in repressing their ideology.
And they were fairly successful, right, in building a society. And how long did Pinochet last?
Well, for quite a while, and afterwards the communists didn't come back.
South Africa was great until international pressure intervened to screw them up.
Yeah.
They showed you could do it.
But if you look at, the body counts, they're quite low. Chile is like 5,000. 5,000 killed by Pinochet. The apartheid regime in South Africa is 10,000. That's a very low numbers. The communists would kill that many people in a day. I mean, when we took Hue from the Viet Cong, we dug up 5,000 bodies.
Oh, really?
When the Tet Offensive in '68, yeah,
Oh,
and they weren't there very long.
yeah. Yeah, well, for obvious reasons, they play up South Africa as if it was this horrible thing. Yeah, I didn't realize the number was that low.
Yeah, quite low. Right? And then you look at the most communist regime in Africa with Ethiopia. It was just absolutely astounding numbers because it, like the Soviet Union, created an artificial famine. So about 2 million.
Really?
Do you remember the Ethiopian famine
I remember I was
created by
young.
the
Yeah, I'm
communist
old.
regime
Yeah, when I was a
and
kid.
the idiot Bob Geldof to
Yeah.
provide aid to the communist regime?
Oh,
Interesting, I did not know it, but Freddie Mercury, the lead singer of Queen, who was born in Zanzibar off the coast of Tanzania, was opposed to that whole thing. He said, "You're just going to be given aid to a corrupt, oppressive African regime. None of it's going to get to the
yeah.
people. Why were you wasting time and money for this?"
And Geldof would run around with his cowboy hat and harangue people into doing it anyway here in the West.
It's kind of interesting. The most degenerate queer in all of
Is he?
all of rock history, Freddie Mercury, at least,
Oh,
was
yeah.
based on the African question.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
But he was a good singer. I like Freddie Mercury and his
Hell of a
music.
singer. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I got nothing against Queen. I was never into them, but obviously good stuff.
well, I mean, yeah, I know some people that are really strong Queen fans, but I think anybody who grew up in the '70s or even '80s is familiar with their more popular songs. I mean, things like "We Are the Champions,"
I hated
"Bohemian
that.
Rhapsody." How
Yeah,
about "Bohemian Rhapsody"?
I hated that. Yeah, that album. Was it the one with bicycles on it? Right. It was all about
Oh,
America, and it was it Fat
"Fat
Bottom
Bottom Girls."
Girls and
Oh, that's a great song.
Champions and the one that
No,
they always play after. We,
Champions is on a different album.
oh, is it? But I just hated that.
Uh,
They had a record called Sheer Heart Attack. I don't
no,
remember
"Sheer Heart
that.
Attack" is a song off of the game. It came out in
Oh,
1980. It's the
really?
same album as
That album, though, was
Another
good.
One Bites the Death. Another One Bites the Dust is on it.
I hate that song. God, that song. They played the hell out of that song when I was young. Really. Dum
Boom,
dum
boom,
dum dum dum.
boom, boom, boom,
What
boom,
the
boom,
fuck? One of this 80s
boom,
songs. Just
boom.
a little
You know, I like
dumb
the song
hook.
I like off that album is a Dragon Attack.
I don't know that one, I don't think.
Take me back to the shack where the whites are black and the blacks are white. Take me back to the shack. Oh,
I'll have to check it out. Killer
yeah.
Queen. Now, there's a great song. Guitar in that song is amazing.
And Brian May,
Yeah.
and he just had a heart attack recently.
Yeah, I saw that. Get well, Mr. May.
I think he is okay now. I think they got him to NHS and uh, cleared out some people dying of COVID. This guy, Matt, very important guitarist,
Yeah.
Dr. Brian May, astrophysicist.
Don't go anywhere, Mr. May. You have to hang around for the end of the world. We're all hanging around for the end of the world. I'm going to need some time to process this whole end of the world thing.
I think it is.
No, it isn't. I don't know. It feels like it. It's so depressing.
Yeah.
Like I said, because they've taken over the town, and everybody seems to think it's cool.
Yeah. Well, what happens when they start actually cutting people's heads off with the guillotine?
Yeah, what happens when they get their actual autonomous zone? Yeah. I'm going to have to research that and see if there is one. I've heard nothing about it, about us having one. No-go zone. The hostility for the police is really remarkable, too, from all these people who have no real reason to have it, you know. But they just buy in immediately to the idea that, yeah, there's all these racist or vicious cops out there. You know, that's a weird thing. I think they want to live
No.
vicariously the black experience of being put down by the man and living this struggle. They want to say, because a lot of these white kids will say shit like, yeah, man, I had these bad experiences with cops too, right? And they really like to
Yeah,
play
man.
that.
I'm sticking it to the
I'm
man.
with you. You're right.
That's why we have to go see our corporate corporate backers.
Anyway, who are your corporate backers? Name them. I want to know, Jonathan.
I have none. I don't have any non-corporate backers either.
Yeah.
Anybody wants to be my backer? That would be great. Sponsor the pole position.
Baby got no backers. Yeah.
I don't think I have a large enough audience to interest them.
All right. Well, I'm running out of gas again.
All right, I'll let you go. Thanks for having me on, Dennis. And
When are you streaming again, sir?
I stream at the same time always, so it's always
Which?
Saturday night, 7 p.m. Pacific.
I'll make a point of catching it this time. Just
You
once a
can
week.
come on my show, and we can discuss the Chinese Cultural Revolution and the Khmer Rouge and other
And,
similar movements.
but everything in light of Black Lives Matter, Jonathan. Okay, I want you to take that away from this tonight. Everything you do now is you want to think about it in light of Black lives, justice. Okay?
Okay, whatever.
No? All right.
Thanks a lot.
See you
See you
later.
later.
That was Jonathan Pohl. Tired. I'm tired. Now here's I'm anticipating some real estate deals as a result of all of this shit, and here's a nice, cozy little studio downtown. Got my eye on it, and once the smoke clears, I think I'm gonna make an offer on this. Probably steal it for a cool $150,000, maybe with $20,000 down payment. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's play the outro. Say his name. Say his name. Good night, everybody.